Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you've all been having a wonderful festive holiday season and are looking forward to the new year. I thought I would do one last video for this year for you guys to talk about what I would consider to be the top discoveries in archaeology in 2017. Just to kind of count down to the end of the year, looking forward to all the new stuff that we're going to be finding in 2018. Now I've chosen 5 news stories / discoveries to talk about with you today. These are things that have popped up in my personal news or news feed on Facebook, things that I've seen people talking a lot about. Now I've just chosen these based upon things that I find interesting or I like. So if you have a different opinion or you think there's something that I missed, please let me know down in the comments. Number 5. Now this story concerns the discovery of the earliest evidence for winemaking, which was found on a dig being done down in Georgia by the University of Toronto, and I actually know people who are participating in this project. This popped up a lot on my Facebook newsfeed because the people that I know working on it were posting about it a lot, but it also made a big splash around news all over the world. The project's name is the Gada Trili Gora Archaeological Excavations Project, or GRAPE for short, and they have been excavating a Neolithic settlement in Georgia. And while they were excavating, they found these giant jugs with decorations on them that they now think might symbolize grapes. In an effort to find out what was going on, what these jugs actually held, they took the pottery, ground it down to a powder, and then submitted it for analysis to look for traces of foods or whatever this jug was storing. And basically what they found was a bunch of different acids and stuff that you actually associate with wine. They also found traces of grape pollen and a fruit fly, more evidence to support this. The dating of this site also goes back to 6000 BCE, which roughly translated is about 8,000 years ago. So clearly wine has been kind of the beverage of choice for humanity for a very long time. Number 4. So the 4th topic on our list today is the discovery of the oldest human settlement in North America. This, again, popped up quite a bit in my newsfeed from a lot of my Canadian archaeology friends earlier this year. An excavation on Triquet Island in British Columbia, Canada, has discovered the remains of tools and a hearth, which they've radiocarbon dated to about 14,000 years ago, which actually was during the last ice age. This is actually really cool because the Heiltsuk Nation, which I think has claims or is associated with this area, has an oral history about a strip of land that didn't freeze during the last ice age where humans lived, and basically this excavation has proved that that's right. So it's really exciting that a piece of oral history or story has survived about 14,000 years to tell us something about this region in the modern day. But also this could have really interesting ramifications for how we look at human migration into North America. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard about the land bridge that people probably came over from Russia to Alaska and then came down the coast into Canada. Recently people have been questioning that because they don't think that there would have been the right amount of enough resources for people to actually live as they migrated downward. So this settlement actually ties into another theory about a more coastal migration. What that means, I don't know. I didn't look too much in depth about this, but there could be some really interesting conclusions drawn from the results of this excavation and the future stuff that they're going to find at this site, because you can bet that they'll be going back there next year. Number 3. Who can talk about archaeology without talking about that shiny gold medal that captures people's attention all around the world? The really exciting discovery that concerns gold things this year that I read about was a Aztec wolf sacrifice in Mexico City, which used to be the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. Archaeologists working near the Templo Mayor, which was the major cultic ritual religious center of Tenochtitlan, have discovered the skeleton of an 8-month-old wolf who is sacrificed and then adorned with a ton of gold and buried in a stone box. There were 22 complete pieces of gold, and it's among the most refined and best pieces of gold that they found in Mexico of Aztec culture, because most of it was taken away and melted down by the Spanish. The pieces included a pendant, a nose ring, a chest plate, amongst other things. Now, you might be asking yourself, why they were sacrificing a wolf. Personally, until I read this story, I didn't realize that wolves had gone that far south. I thought that they were more of a northern animal. But apparently they are something that's heavily associated with the Aztec god of the sun and war, who's known as, and let me see if I can say this right, Huitzilopochtli. Basically, they function, in Aztec mythology, they functioned as guides for dead warriors to lead them to the underworld. The sacrifice was also able to be dated back to the reign of King Ahuitzil, which is about the late 1400s, very, very early 1500s. They haven't actually completed the entire analysis of the skeleton yet, so there could be some more interesting stuff coming out of this in the new year. Specifically, they want to look to see if they can actually tell if the rib cage was ripped open with the heart taken out, which is a theme I think for Aztec sacrifices. So it'll be really interesting to see if they did the same thing to the wolf as they would have done to human sacrifices. Number 2. So the second most exciting story for me definitely took over my news and my news feed when it first came out, and a lot of people were talking about it, and it is the publication of the fact that a Norse warrior burial from Sweden, which people had always assumed was a male, was actually a female. So basically proving that the Norse people actually allowed women to be warriors, which is something that we have seen reflected in a lot of their mythology, like their sagas and stuff. They talk about the Valkyries, shield maidens, and that kind of thing, but we haven't really had proof archaeologically that that outside of their mythology that women actually participated in warfare. The interesting thing about this as well is that this isn't exactly a new discovery in terms of the skeleton itself has been excavated since the 1880s. At that time, we didn't have the kind of techniques that we use nowadays to determine a skeleton's sex. People that were excavating it just assumed that this person was a man based upon his grave goods, which were swords, arrowheads, and 2 sacrificed horses. They saw that, they thought, oh, this person's a warrior, obviously a dude. In the ensuing time, between then and now, this burial, which is known as the Burka burial, because that's where it was found, has come to be known as like one of the best examples of a like male Norse warrior Viking burial, whatever you want to call it. A couple years ago, somebody decided that they would have a second look and actually look at the bones. This person found that they actually have female traits rather than male traits, and published this, but people were like, oh, well, you know, that stuff isn't exact, which is true, but it's fairly accurate. So then a bunch of people in Uppsala, Sweden decided to do DNA analysis on the bones, and this analysis came back and said that this was a woman, which is, again, really exciting. The second part of why this is cool is that this burial also had a bunch of like gaming pieces, so like lying on their pelvis when they were discovered, which people are drawing conclusions thinking that that might mean that because it would have been like a game associated with strategy, this person might have been a tactician and therefore some kind of war leader. So not only was this woman a warrior, but she led people in warfare. Number 1. So this topic isn't necessarily just one site or one discovery, it's more about just a geographic area and what's been going on in it. And this area has occupied the news for quite a few years. Not just the archaeology, more so everything else that's going on, but I'm just going to talk about the archaeology today. In case you haven't guessed, I'm talking about the archaeology of Iraq and a little bit Syria, but mostly Iraq. A lot of the archaeology concerned stuff has been going on this year. In case you don't watch the news, there's been some really awful stuff going on in that area. In case you haven't heard of them, there's this group called Daesh, might not be saying that right, also known as ISIS or ISIL, which is incorrect because they are not a state. They've been going around trying to establish their own little caliphate in the north of Iraq and parts of Syria. And as a part of their plan for doing this, they've been going around and looting antiquities sites and museums, and anything that was portable or valuable, they would sell in the black market. Or if it wasn't, they would use their ideology to say that it was like iconographic or against their religion, and then they would destroy it. So this wasn't just like shooting things with guns or hammers, like they bulldozed sites. It's really, really bad. They've destroyed like so much cultural history. Thankfully, they seem to be on the run, and things aren't going so well for them anymore. And now that they're on the retreat and a lot of their key cities have been recaptured, part of the process of cleaning up after everything has involved archaeologists coming back in and looking at all the damage that's been done. There is a silver lining to this cloud. As archaeologists come back in and kind of are taking stock of everything that's happened, they've made a bunch of new discoveries that maybe wouldn't have happened, or at least happened in the same way or happened as quickly without all of the stuff that Daesh did. And the British Museum, at the request of the Iraqi government, has helped to establish a training program for Iraqi archaeologists to pass on all of our knowledge and techniques and to properly train them in field work. And this itself is really good because a lot of archaeology has involved people from the West, from Europe, from America, coming into places like Iraq for a couple months or a couple weeks, and then kind of taking, not necessarily the artifacts, but taking all that knowledge back with them to the West. And it's not been really accessible for people in Iraq, and that is their history. So it is important for them to be involved in it and to see that their history is valuable and to see that these things are worth protecting. So I think that that program is a really, really good idea, and I think it's going to really benefit Iraqi archaeology and Iraqi heritage. On to the actual archaeological discoveries that have been made. One of the heritage sites that was targeted by Daesh and has now fallen back under the Iraqi government is the city of Nineveh, which is near Mosul. And it was the capital of the Assyrian Empire. It's been about 70% destroyed. Some of that destruction, however, has led to new discoveries. Basically, they found tunnels that people were digging to try and find things to sell. And within these tunnels, where they had never dug before, they have found sculptures, reliefs, cuneiform tablets, a bunch of information that we potentially would not have otherwise discovered. The training program itself has been using 2 sites to train people, one of which has been led to the discovery of a temple that they'd only known about from writing, and have now actually discovered the actual physical temple itself, so they can excavate that and learn more about it from that. As well, there's a site to the north that they've been excavating, which they found is actually a lost city of Alexander the Great, which he built on his way through Persia. Additionally, and this is not related to the training program specifically, but they've been using a lot of new technology like drones, try and find sites and to help document sites. Has led to the discovery of what's being called a city of the Sealand Kings. And this is located in I guess the swamps of Iraq, quite far in the south. And again, these Sealand Kings are people that we only knew about because they had been written about by other people. They were actually able to find and start excavating a site of these Sealand Kings. And as part of the excavations, again, they found a bunch of tablets with writing that are being deciphered at the moment. So this particular site is going to basically reveal a lot of stuff about a civilization that was kind of lost to us as we continue excavating there. So yeah, those are my top 5 archaeological discoveries, news stories, what have you, for 2017. I'd like to know what you guys think, so let me know down below in the comments. Do you agree that they are really exciting, or is there a story that I missed that you think I should have included? Let me know down below in the comments. Looking forward to next year, we've got more archaeological discoveries to come that we don't even know about. The pyramids have been in the news lately because they've been chasing all of those air shaft chamber things all over them, but they've been talking about that for years, so I don't know if that's actually going to lead to any new discoveries. More and more stuff is going to come out of Iraq as more archaeologists get in to take a look at what's been going on and more projects start going back to the region. As per usual, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to follow me on any of my other social media, which I try to focus on archaeology stuff. That's it for me today, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next year. Bye!